Hi there, and welcome to episode 5 of Bands and the Humans podcast. I'm your host, Bands, and you are the humans. Today I have a special guest with me. Her name's Natasia. She's the owner of Namaste Studios out here in Ferndale, Randburg, and we'll just be having a talk about yoga and meditation and what she does here at the studio. So how are you doing, Natasia?
Hi, I'm good. I'm fine, thanks, Bands. So, what do you want to know?
So, when did you start with the studio? Like, when did you open and how long have you been practicing?
Okay, my yoga journey kind of started a little bit before my yoga journey started. I think a lot of people have had this experience. For me, I discovered yoga only about 18 years ago. I had a background as a dancer, so moving the body, understanding the body, appreciating what it can do is very much a part of me. And then I'd meandered into the corporate world, as lots of us do. And then I'd retrained and was working as a therapeutic reflexologist at a health center. And they had yoga classes there. And I'd always thought, let's just give this a try. And so I went along and I was hooked. Coming back to being in a studio felt like coming home for me. It just felt right. It wasn't sitting sedentary, stuck in a chair. It wasn't about ego. It wasn't about competing. It was just meeting people at a human level, getting back in touch with myself. And it's such a respite from the world of busyness and craziness and all the stuff in our heads. So yeah, I've been practicing since about 2001. And it kind of seeps in and becomes part of your life, and it is a way of life.
Sure.
And then as far as teaching goes, my teacher at the time guided me into becoming a teacher, and it's something that I'd never thought of doing. I never wanted to be your typical teacher, school teacher, anything like that. I hated school. It was too rigid and punitive. But then I realized, oh my God, this is something I really love. And I had the opportunity, actually at very short notice, 11 years ago, to take over the space that she was teaching in because she'd moved to another area. And she's, take over the space. You've been teaching for me anyway, which I had been filling in.
Sure.
And that was when Namaste was born, Namaste Yoga Studio. And we started off in these lovely premises, which were at a house with a purpose-built studio that opened up onto a gorgeous garden. And then the owner of the house sold and moved and wasn't going to be used as a studio anymore, so that after 2 years we had to find new premises. And as often happens, I searched around and finding studio space is really hard, so I ended up teaching from a church for 5 years. An Afrikaans church just down the road, and they were really good to us, but eventually we outgrew the space and it was time to expand and time to grow and have more offerings, because it was just a part-time thing, and I was working part-time as well, working full-time and teaching part-time actually. And I decided to take a sabbatical.
What's that?
When you've been working solidly and you want to take a break and just like reevaluate your life. Did a bit of study, did a bit of further training with my teacher Kerry at Indie Yoga, who's fantastic. And then it just solidified, this is what I need to be doing with my life full time. So that was about 6 years ago. And then after that I managed to find the space that we're in now. So we moved into our purpose-built studio in Ferndale. And it allowed us to expand. We've been here 4 years. It's 4 years in September. And it allowed us to expand, and I've added extra classes, I've got extra teachers on board, and it's become a dedicated space. You know, when you're sharing space with someone else, you have to pack your stuff away. You come in and there's like glitter on the floor from Sunday school, or there's a meeting going on next door making noise while you're trying to practice. This is, I think, worthy of the practice. And it's been a joy because I can welcome more people in, we can have workshops, we can just do lots more stuff here.
And it's quite spacious.
It is, yeah. We've fitted quite a few people in here. It's quite
how
fun.
many people do you have, like maximum per class?
Oh, it varies. I mean, I won't turn people away if it's possible to fit more in. Workshops, I think the most we've had in here has been about 23, 24, mat to mat.
So with yoga, like how have you found healing or any sort of restitution from practicing yoga, either practicing or teaching? Have you found any restitution from that?
Both, actually. Practice is where it all starts, where you come back to. It's as one of my meditation teachers says, it's kind of where you sharpen your sword every day, or sharpen your axe as the woodcutter. You have to come back to that. That's where you center, where you reset, where you delve and uncover all the stuff that we build up as human beings on this planet. So every teacher is a student perpetually. I mean, you never stop learning with yoga, just like life. There's no manual for life. Yoga is one of the ways you can kind of have a guidance system. The lessons in it are vast. And then teaching is healing, because you actually are guiding other people. It's a huge privilege and also a huge responsibility. You're guiding other people into their own yoga journeys.
Sure.
You're facilitating and holding space for them so that they can do that delving, do that work. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's ugly, sometimes it's not soft and pretty and all, light and love. It's sometimes you feel grim because you've uncovered stuff, you've unearthed stuff. The human condition's messy. But it's also a huge privilege to watch people blossom into themselves and learn to love themselves and learn to discover their strength and discover they can feel better, because it does help for that, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, all three. It's a different responsibility. So teaching, it's not about you. You can't bring your own stuff into the space. You're there to facilitate, and you might have a whole bunch of people in the space that are going through stuff, different stuff on different days.
So would you say that you kind of have to let go of your own ego?
Oh yeah, it's a constant struggle.
How do you deal with that? You find that people struggle to even identify what ego is. So how do you identify it and be able to deal with it and manage it like that?
Well, it's not a prescriptive process where you can say, oh, your ego is playing up. I mean, we all have to, I think, come to our realizations and come to our growth in our own ways, and everyone's in a different place in their journey.
Sure.
I by no means have any of all of the answers. Most days as teachers we think, do I have this? No, I don't. Let's just wing it. But I think the more you learn and the more you practice, the more you draw on your own life experience to just hold a space of compassion, hold a space of acceptance, of approachability. So whoever comes in that door might be nervous because, they don't know what yoga is. I wish I had a rand for every time someone had $1. Every time someone had said to me, I've always been scared to try yoga because I'm not flexible, I'm not this or I'm not that. Yeah. You don't have to get there knowing or doing anything. As the saying goes, if you can breathe, you can do yoga. Oh. The idea behind yoga is to still the busy mind. You've got a lovely copy of the sutras here. Yes. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha is one of the sutras which says yoga is about the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. So that is where the ego comes in. I call it a terrible control freak because it wants to direct us. If you try and sit still and meditate, your mind is going to set up all sorts of resistance, all sorts of, my knee hurts or my neck's itching or something, because it doesn't want to be controlled. And sitting still is hard. Our bodies want to fidget, our bodies get uncomfortable, we slump, we slouch, we maybe don't have the strength to do that because we've been slouching over technology, which is a modern condition. And it builds the strength and flexibility in the body to sit still and meditate, which is the ultimate aim, to find that stillness, to find that place of steadiness where you're kind of the eye of the storm, you're the calm in the chaos. And that's kind of the beginning point. From there, people unfortunately have started to think that the asanas, the poses of yoga, are everything of yoga. They're not. They are one of the 8 limbs. Only one. And it's the easy way in because we are very outwardly focused, particularly in the West. We're very focused on the tangible. We're very visual. I mean, look at Insta, look at all the different social media. And everybody's looking at the pictures, they're looking at things which can be off-putting and can be intimidating. But if you just realize that it's about getting there and doing your best with what you have on any given day, and it will be different any given day. Some days you will feel as stiff as anything, you'll feel like a rock. Some days you'll feel, I'm flowing okay today. Today I'm in myself. But you just have to keep practicing. It's like you can't brush your teeth once. You got to do it every day.
Sure.
Hopefully twice a day. And the yoga is that place to come back to. It is your practice ground in a safe, controlled environment, so that when you do hit the challenges of life, you've got a base from which to work.
Sure. So with yoga originating from the eastern side of the world and those cultures, and it moving to the West, do you feel that Is that a bad thing, or could we look at it from two sides?
I think you can always look at everything from two sides. I think anything that helps the human condition, helps people to understand others better, helps us to understand the oneness, because yoga means unity, it means union. So we're not just connecting body, mind and spirit, we're understanding that everything is connected. It's that butterfly effect where butterfly flaps its wings one side of the world and there's a tsunami on the other. We are all connected, and I think people are, and always have been, searching for a way to understand whether it's the meaning of life or just the meaning of their own lives. And that cross-pollination is not a bad thing. If you look at the benefits of all the Eastern philosophies, whether it's traditional Chinese medicine, whether it's yoga, which was from India originally, there's so many things that have now, with globalization, have merged and become known. I mean, just look at the melting pot in South Africa.
Sure.
The fact that we are connecting and talking and living in the same areas now and working together and playing together, whether it's on the rugby field, this topically this week, or whether it's in a yoga studio, whether it's in a dance class or an art studio or an office, there's growth. We can understand each other, and it's about connection and communication, which is what we're doing with yoga. It's connecting through the body, using the breath, quietening the mind, and getting out of our heads so that we can come back to the root and discover our true selves, our best selves, which are not judgmental, which are not corrupt, which are not harsh. They just are. No, it's not our true nature. And getting back to that is a journey that can take a whole lifetime, maybe several lifetimes if you believe in reincarnation. And I think a lot of people are searching. So I think when yoga came to the West, it opened up an avenue of exploration that wasn't previously available because there'd been this resistance. There sometimes is still this resistance, unfortunately. I noticed it when I was practicing therapeutic reflexology, because people are scared of what they don't understand. And with any new concept, at first it seems to be, that's new, that's scary, that's dangerous. And then it's like, maybe there's something to this. And then it just becomes, it's self-evident. Yes, it works. Even modern medicine was like that originally. So it takes time for people to adjust. Some people are more open to it than others, and it's wonderful when someone just comes in and gets it and it's like, wow. But the people who struggle with it and then discover that breaking open, I think maybe value it more. It's a hard-won joy, if that makes sense.
And then, what are some of the stories, the more inspirational stories that someone might have come into the studio with some type of ailment in their spine, or
there's so many. I mean, I think people learn to be less harsh with themselves. I always say to my students, and there's different approaches. I say, ask the body nicely, because if you are forcing it, whether it's forcing into a stretch because you think, ego, the control freak, wants to be head on knees or whatever, or flat down or whatever the asana might be, it's not the end goal. It's about what you discover on the way down there. Can I do this with compassion? Can I do this with understanding? Can I coax the body and the mind to work together to find that little conversation that goes on? I always call yoga a sacred conversation with yourself, because you are always having that conversation, whether you get out of bed in the morning and you feel like going to work, or you're sick, or you having a bad day with the spouse or the kids or the whatever or the traffic. It's how you deal with that stuff that determines the course of your day. If you're in a shocking mood and you get on the road and you keep that mood with you, you're going to have troubles. You're going to meet a taxi who's going to cut you off. You're going to hit all the red robots. If you are trying to be aware, and it is about awareness, and you are thinking, well, okay, maybe they're having a bad day too.
So, what does Namaste mean to you? Because I've done some research into other languages and stuff like that, and I found some correlation to the Zulu greeting, which is Sawubona. It means pretty much the same thing. It's
cool.
My soul recognizes or acknowledges.
Is that what Sawubona means?
Yeah,
that's so cool. I mean, I knew it was hello.
The more esoteric side of it.
Oh, that's
it's
awesome.
Zulu's quite a poetic language as well. So, like, if you look into the meaning of it, it's like, my soul recognizes your soul. Because it means, if you interpret it literally, it means, I see you.
Yes.
Sawubona,
yeah.
I see you.
Exactly.
You know, it's not about...
That's so cool. I never realized the correlation. You see, there's so many things that are connected. I mean, even if you look at the foods of different countries, there's so many similarities. They call it something different, but there's so many similarities. Yeah, Namaste is a greeting and a blessing, just like Sawubona. So it's been translated so many different ways, but the ones that resonate the most with me are my soul meets your soul, or the divine in me honors the divine in you, or I see you. Funny enough, I used that greeting just today in my class this morning. I see you. It's honoring our shared humanity. So, I mean, all over the East, you'll get the namaste, the bowing, the hello, bringing both sides of the whole together. It's an honoring gesture. It's connecting from heart to heart. There's so many different ways of looking at it. But that's interesting. I didn't know that Sawubona was the same. That's awesome. So you see, there's so many similarities. And it's just shows you that it's just honoring human to human, being to being. Yeah.
And then, what is the significance of the lotus flower in yoga? I've seen that quite a lot.
Yeah.
Even
I've got my earrings on today as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a saying: no mud, no lotus. The lotus is a symbol of purity, of growth, of transcendence, as I understand it. And it's, if you think of the way the lotus grows, it literally grows up through the mud.
Sure.
But when it emerges and it blossoms,
it becomes this beautiful...
it's perfectly clear. It doesn't look like it's come through mud at all. It's pristine, it's beautiful. It's a symbol of purity, of growth, of possibly the purity of spirit, if you want to look at it that way, if you are looking at it on a spiritual aspect. Yeah, and a thing of beauty can grow through difficulty.
Wow.
That answers your question.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, with the whole thing about, yoga having some religious connotation to it, did you guys find any backlash while you were practicing at church?
Yoga is not a religion. The best description I've been given against that question, because so many people are fearful of things from the East, because maybe it's different belief systems, and a lot of belief systems can be very prescriptive. But yoga is practiced by people of all belief systems and none. Because what it does, and as the best description I've had is, my teacher Kerry says, yoga is about purifying the body as a vessel for spirit. So you are not practicing any religion, although it has its roots in the ancient Vedic lineage, the ancient Hindu lineage. So a lot of the deities might be invoked because of the qualities that they were supposed to possess. And that is good qualities, whether it's removing obstacles, whether it's strength, whether it's courage, whether it's, whatever you wanting to invoke in yourself. And that is something that I think all the religions should also embrace as well. It's trying to get in touch with yourself. Which all religions try to do, and with the divinity, which whatever you call it. So it is really not a religion. It is a way of right living. If you look at the sutras, if you look at the philosophies of yoga, the 8 limbs, you have everything from not stealing, not non-harming, ahimsa, to discipline, to cleanliness, to self-study, to immersion in the divine, whatever your divine is. And it's a way of, like I said, it's kind of a manual, because we come into this life without a manual, and everyone's searching for a guidebook. And some find it in religion, some find it in spirituality. It's about connection. Okay.
So with that, or just based off of that question, like where do you find your place in the world of spirituality?
Oh my word. Religious person? I'm not a religious person, for various reasons of my own. I grew up in what was then the typical sort of Christian upbringing, so I mean, I understand about that, and I know the stories and the philosophies about it. I don't really know how to define it. I think that connection with other human beings, and just trying to connect on a human level, and just trying to be a damn good human being. Really, it's not about being better or more important than anyone else, because I think a lot of the hierarchical things that come with we're getting into dangerous territory. We shouldn't talk religion. No, I think a lot of the hierarchical power structures, whether it's the patriarchy of power in politics, in a company, in society as a whole, whether it's religion, where you do have the different levels. I think as soon as you start thinking of others as other, there's a potential for abuse of others. And I think if your grounding of whatever your spiritual beliefs are, or whatever your innate beliefs are, is that we are all human beings, all deserving of respect and dignity and love, and connection and being seen. It's a more of a leveler.
Sure. So we shouldn't be constricted by some form of systematic or
if that works for you, and if you find refuge, and if you find peace and solace and nourishment from that, absolutely. I mean, I don't think one should prescribe what others believe. I don't think one can say, oh, you believe in this, so you're wrong. No, that works for you, great.
Yeah.
As long as that's not making you hate someone else, your religion's fine. That's where I come from.
Yeah. Okay. But then do you not feel like with some religions there's this intrinsic form of control, where it's like
a lot of it is about control, and I think that's where humans come in. Because remember that anything that's been written down, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, whatever it is, it's been written down by human beings, and human beings interpret things.
Sure. Even these books.
So absolutely, this is somebody's version of their learning, of their understanding of something. And that's why the more we learn, the better. Because the more you learn, the more you realize there is still to learn.
Sure.
Dr. Bernard Brom, who's very wise man. He's a multidisciplinary, holistic doctor, naturopath. I don't even remember all his qualifications. But he said at a conference I attended years ago, I have a point of view and you have a point of view, and the more points of view, the better the view. If you're looking at an elephant from around the room and one of you studying the tail, one of you studying the trunk, one of you studying the foot, one of you studying the ear, you'll be convinced that your view is the right view, and it will be, but it's not the only view. There are all these other views giving you the whole picture.
As long as they can all come together.
Absolutely.
It's one picture.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I believe like more religions should be like open to listening to others rather than being closed off or isolated to their own practice.
It would be nice, because I think there are similarities. I mean, just like you said with Sawubona and Namaste, I didn't know that. That's cool. I'm going out in the world and I've learned something new today, which is always good. And I think there are commonalities. Do unto others as you want done unto yourself, I think, is a central tenet of all religions, from the little bit that I know. So you asked if I had any trouble with working at a church. Actually, the one that I worked at was great. They were super. They understand our purpose was there to come together and share something beautiful and just learn and work and feel better. But I did have resistance in some of the places that I tried to hire space in. The one church was a little bit resistant.
Last week when I came in, like I didn't know what to expect, but coming out of it, I learned a lot, because I do meditate on my own, and I've tried yoga, but I wouldn't say like I was practicing it the right way, because I was just learning from books and stuff like that.
It's still a good place to start.
So like being in a place where you can be around people and being in a space that allows you to open up a bit more was quite cool. So like what was your first experience of yoga?
My very first experience at that center that I mentioned, it was interesting for me. As you say, that collective energy is really cool. Sure. I mean, everyone's there for the same purpose. Yeah. One of the reasons I love what I do is because you get to actually meet people on a human level. There's none of that I'm an MD bullshit. There's no ego, hopefully. I mean, it does creep in sometimes, but you're all just there because you want to feel better. You want to let go of your day. Maybe you're battling with something, and you sometimes want to just be quiet on your mat. Sometimes you want to have a giggle with the person next to you before class and say, hey, how's it going? I haven't seen you for a week or whatever. Our first class, I was lucky in that I had used my body because I danced.
Okay.
I was a ballet dancer, and so that aspect of it, the flexibility wasn't so much an issue. The upper body strength was a real wake-up call because yoga was originally developed for teenage boys, and men have upper body strength naturally, and ladies don't. We build it, we get it, but it takes a bit longer. We went into crow pose. I don't think we did that in your class. I can't remember. It is an arm balance, and I literally thought my wrists were going to snap. This is not possible. This is not happening. Oh my God! 3 months later, I got in, and that was really liberating. And yay! I'm now. What's this? Oh, it's a tricep. It comes with practice. It was lovely. It felt good to get moving. It was different because things were turned in instead of turned out. Mm-hmm. So you notice the differences, but you can appreciate them for something different and something new. And I was open to trying it, and I persevered, and it's become a way of life for me. It's become something that I'm passionate about. So I'm glad I tried it. And some people just fall into it early in life, which is such a gift. Some people come a bit later. I was only 30 when I discovered it, and I wish I'd known about it before. Yeah. Also for the breathing, which helps so much. But I think whenever you discover it, it doesn't matter about your history on the mat. The fact that you're on your mat and you keep coming back to your mat, even if there's been a break, that's what matters. You're coming back to yourself. You're coming back to do the work.
And it's important to not get discouraged quite easily.
No, there's lots to discourage you. As I always say, yoga is a great leveler, and that's where the ego kind of wiping comes in, because there will always be something that challenges you, whether it's your balance, whether it's flexibility, whether it's strength, whether it's the fear of going upside down or bending backwards, or whatever it is.
Sure.
And you'll feel the body tensing up, little armor up, and go, I don't think I can do that. And if you push through gently, and that's why I say ask nicely, eventually you get to the point where you realize, there's been incremental change, and this is now something that doesn't bother me. And there'll always be something as well that keeps you humble. And then there'll always be something that you think, this feels good, this is my party trick, And that's where the reward comes in, and it's lovely. And then you realize, this is yummy. This is my favorite pose. And that's okay too, Life's got the good and the bad, and you've got to unfortunately balance both.
Alright, cool. So how could people get in contact with you if they want to come visit the studio, or I don't know?
Oh, awesome. Easiest way is to pop onto our website, www.namasteyogastudio.co.za. All our details are there. We're very centrally situated in Randburg.
Sure.
We're on Insta, Namaste Yoga SA. We're on Facebook, Namaste Yoga. Namaste Yoga Studio, sorry. My details are all on the website for contacting us, and just come and give it a try.
Sure.
It can change your life. It's changed so many people's lives.
Yeah,
it's definitely brought me peace, helped me through some hectic stuff in my life. And I think a lot of people have had the same experience. It's a place to come back to. It's a safe space. It's a practice for life.
All right. So thank you, Natasia.
Pleasure.
It was really awesome having this chat with you, and I look forward to coming back and learning.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing more of you on the mat. Thank you so much for inviting me to be interviewed, and I hope this has been a benefit. Hands to your heart.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.